Hey guys, what's up? So a lot of you tuned in a couple weeks ago for our recap of the Midwest Side-by-Side Series, Race 1. Saw some highlights throughout that about a couple of the racers that we had from River Rats Off-Road competing. We got Jeff and Kayla Walford here with us. They raced in the women's class, the amateur class, and the pro class. So today we're going to be taking a little bit deeper dive into their race, what their experience was, and even looking at a little bit of in-cab footage from their races. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and cut to the pits right after Kayla finished her run at the women's class, and we're going to dive right in to amateur and pro. So we are out here in Fort Dodge, Iowa today, and we got two of our friends from River Rats Off-Roads that are going to be running today, Jeff and Kayla. So I'm here with Kayla, who just completed her run for the women's class. Kayla, why don't you tell us what happened here?
Well, I was leading it for almost a full lap, and I turned the corner too fast and landed on my side and put me out of the race. So unfortunately, I did not finish this one.
So next up, we got old boy Jeff back here. What up, Jeff?
What up?
So we're fingers crossed for his run.
There.
Yeah, oh yeah, peep the River Rats Racing shirt. Can I get a 180? Oh yeah.
It's my last year's shirt.
Dress for success, so we'll see how this race goes for him.
I'm gonna keep it on my wheels, hopefully. Last year I laid on my side. Last year I was on my side pretty hard.
Let's get it.
I do not think I could see my hands or my dash in the thick of it. And obviously I didn't want to wad my car up within the first 100 yards of the start. So I backed way off, let the dust settle.
So there's a point in the race where they come out of the actual circle track and begin to dive into the forested trails. And I noticed when you were coming out of that, you were following a green machine.
Yep.
And you ended up following the woods for some time.
Yep.
But it looks like you guys made a little bit of a detour.
talking about when I went topsy-turvy trying to back up?
Yeah.
So there was a section in the track itself where you could either hang a right, shoot up a hill, or you could go straight. And the track last year, you had to go straight. They didn't have that detour.
Now
So
let me
you-
interject by saying too, that because of some of the mechanical issues and the way that they had everything set up this year, Jeff didn't actually have an opportunity to get a sight lap in this
No.
year. So he was coming into this with little idea where the actual course was supposed to be laid out.
So I was going off of, piggybacking off of that, I was going off of, well, it's got to be dang close to what it was last year. I wanted to get my hub put on my machine to have brakes. So I sent Kayla on the sight lap, and I tried to make sure all of our machines were good to go, once over everything one more time. Believe it or not, like, it was her first race and doing this all together, so I wanted to make sure she was 100% good to go. I kind of put my machine on the back burner. But yeah, I didn't take a sight lap, so I had no idea where it was going. So I let that guy get past me and tried to Austin Powers it without tumbling into the pond down below. I ended up did get spun around, got back out on the trail. I didn't catch the driver's name in the green and black Can-Am, but I don't know if you're actually waiting to make sure I made it out okay or not, but that's what I'm going to think. And thank you for doing that. It's great sportsmanlike conduct. Ended up jumping out of the hole that I was in, headed up the trail. Other than that, I got into the motocross section. That black and green Can-Am got around, or was coming up behind me. Like I said, I was trying to take it easy. I waved him on, past me, because he was trying to put some heat down. I was trying to conserve myself. ended up getting down into the woods section, the second half of the woods section, got caught up with a Arctic cat, I believe it was, at another Can-Am. Like I said, meandering around, finding out where their trails were. They overshot one of the turns. I jumped through one of the openings thinking that's where the guy was pointing like we had to turn. And I jumped through that. Well, I know now that that was the wrong move. I should have backed up about 20 yards and hit the actual trail that went uphill. So I ended up making 2 laps down on the river bottom. and I zigged instead of zagged around some tree stumps, and I ended up smoking a tree stump. I don't even know how fast I was going, but I felt like I was clipping out pretty good considering where I was at, and snapped my A-arm. Didn't know I snapped my A-arm, thought I just blew a tire. So I get stopped, I almost hit a tree, back up, I get going again. And I don't know if you can see it on the radio or not, but I have a button on my steering wheel and I have comms in my head helmet. And Kayla had a radio back at pits that I could communicate back and forth. So I could say, hey, I don't like this is wrong, something's not right, look at it when I come through, I'm gonna continue trying to drive through it. So I told her, I said, I think I have a flat, I'm gonna continue this lap, but tell me if there's something seriously awry with it, or if I'm just imagining it.
And I remember looking at your GoPro footage from that section too, and I remember there was a straightaway where you were driving straight and you had the wheel cocked all the way to the left, and your machine was diving off to the right. What threw me for a loop with that is I was constantly fighting it. It was pulling me to the right. Constantly fighting it. But if I got in the wide open area and I laid into it, because I was like, well, it's going to get worse if it's a flat tire, obviously. Yeah.
But it got way better. Like, the steering wheel was able to straighten out, and the only thing I could think of was weight transfer from my front end to my back end. Allowed my A-arm to pivot back to where it needed to be. Because the second I let off the throttle and I started putting pressure on the front end, immediately to the right.
Yeah. Jeff snapped a control arm clean off of his rig. So that's about where his is right now.
And Kayla's going back out.
Yep. But Kayla is going to enter the pro class with her Pro R, which is all right as rain since it's been rolled over.
Hey.
So we're gonna hope for Kayla to do well in this next race.
She found the limit.
Yeah. Yep, now she's ready to go.
When she was running sprint cars, she always told me, oh, I gotta roll the thing and wreck it, total it out to know the limits of the machine.
Absolutely.
Well, now she laid it on its side, so.
Out on the race, you didn't really have the same issue with Jeff, did you? They weathered the track for you guys, I believe.
A little bit. So the main piece of the infield where you did the jumps was fine, but coming out it got really dusty and I couldn't see that well. So I still got lagged back a little bit there, which I was okay with because, like I said, I was just doing the pro class for seat time.
mean, what was that like? What was your experience like running in that class?
It was a lot of fun. I will say it was a lot more intimidating than the women's class, but it was still great competition. They went off the bat a whole lot faster than the women's class did, so that was an experience that I wasn't really quite prepared for, is rush in with a big of a group. The women's class only had a handful of people, where the pros, there were 17 of us, so that was a lot of fun too, jumping on the line.
Oh yeah. And I mean, there was a lot of good obstacles. I was recording from the sidelines, you know, so I got to see a lot of the track, the obstacle course, the jumps. I mean, for your first time doing it, I mean, what were your general impressions of the track as a whole?
The track itself was great. There was a lot of different aspects, so it gave you chances to excel in one area and fall back in other areas, but you're still able to make passes and do other things in sections that you were more comfortable with. If you're better on the jumps, you could gain a lot of speed in that area. The woods part was a little hard for me. It was a challenge. That's something I've never done before. My machine is so wide that they were hard to get through. So
I do remember seeing that there was some of your cam footage that I watched where your wide wheelbase kind of worked against you. I think it was 2 trees at one part of the woods trail where you kind of got stuck.
I got stuck twice in those trees. hill and just the rear tire slid and I stuck perfectly in between these two trees and I could not get out. It happened to me twice. But I was watching the GoPro footage from another racer that had a Pro R and he did the same thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
It wasn't just me. I got stuck in the tree twice. I had my door fling open. That was an experience. The other way. Turn real sharp. Real hard, real hard, real hard, real hard. So after I rolled over in the women's class, it must have jarred my opener, and when I went over the rock garden, it flung my door open. I couldn't get it shut. I tried backing up. It didn't work. Eventually, one of the track help got me to where my door was stayed shut, and I was able to continue on with the race. But it had its challenges during this race, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, especially being your first time doing it, like that's to be expected.
Yeah.
I'd say all in all, you ran a complete race almost up until the end, I believe, right?
It was the last 15 minutes of the 2 hours that's when I punctured my tire and I no longer could go. I actually punctured the tire halfway through the race, continued the entire lap, and then pulled into the pits.
Okay, well, that pretty much concludes our look at Team River Rats at the Midwest Side-by-Side Series. Did we win? Not necessarily, but I'd say we had a damn good time doing it.
We had wins in certain areas.
Yeah.
We didn't win the event, but we persevered through issues that we had. She got seat time. I mean, that's winning. She can come out pushing a little bit harder next race, which is June 27th.
Yes, June 27th is round 2 in Weldon, Iowa. And that's one thing that I want to emphasize too is that, yeah, it's a race. Yeah, it's competitive. But it's also not all about that. A big part of it is coming out and having a good time doing it.
You don't have to be fast. You just have to make sure your stuff stays together for the 1.5 or 2 hours that the race is going on.
The key word with this is that it's an endurance race.
Yep.
It's not like, most other races where it's a quarter mile down the track, the fastest guy wins. Yeah, speed plays a factor, but you know what else plays a factor? Your machine being able to hold together and roll across the finish line after 2 hours of brutal racing through jumps, through obstacles, through rocks, through everything.
Mud, water.
I'd say that pretty much concludes our race. I mean, it was a good time. We're gonna come back and hit it again next time for round 2. We're gonna try and get these machines all fixed and get everybody right as rain before the race starts and hopefully get after it all over again. Hopefully it'd be cool, get some more people out here, get bigger turnouts at the races.
Yep.
I'd say we had a pretty huge turnout. I'd say it was between 15 and 20 people in each class. So if anything about this interests you, if you're into Ultra 4 racing or want to dip your toes in it, I absolutely encourage you to come out, experience a race. Come out, try and run in a race. You could even do like the farm rec class. It's stock machines. We saw Segway UTVs. We saw Polaris Rangers running that class. Generals.
I think a general took second. A 4-seat general.
Yeah, 4-seat general podium finished in the amateur class. Not the amateur, the farm rec class.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, if you're even halfway considering it, definitely check it out. And even if you just want to spectate, come out and watch. It's a great time. And River Rats Off-Road, we will be out there giving it our all on June 27th. And hope to see you out there. And don't forget too, if you're digging the content, loving the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe. That helps support us, lets us keep making these videos, and hope to see you out there.